There are so many stories out there. I believe that every single business owner that has endured this recent pandemic has had their lives turned upside down, their realities turned upside down. They've had sleepless nights, they've lost hair, they've been stressing out. I mean, I know I can't even count on my hands, my fingers and toes how many times I find myself awake at 6 a.m. grinding my teeth, thinking, worrying, and just not having all the answers. And I'm not going to promise you that we have all the answers, but you know what? This might be a refuge for you if you're either running a business or thinking about running a business where you can reference other people's stories, other people's experiences, and say, oh, wow, you know what? I just went through that. I see what they're talking about. Everything starts somewhere. This is the first episode of Navigating Business with me, Saint Hung. Here we aim to inspire, educate, and encourage entrepreneurship. We want to highlight the wins, the losses, the highs and lows, and the trials and tribulations for small business owners nationwide. But first, just a quick introduction. I am an Asian American entrepreneur. I immigrated here in 1983 when I was 3 years old. So you do the math, I'm in my 40s. And I went through a good amount of experiences, trials and tribulations, growing up in a rough part of town, Flushing, Queens, in New York City, and went through the public education system and rose up, went through corporate America for many years. And one day just decided, you know what? It's not me that doesn't fit in the system. It's the system that has done nothing to help me out. So I've got to go my own way and go create a system that facilitates growth, opportunity, and hope for others. And that's what I did. In 2003, the 20th anniversary is actually coming up, January of 2023. But in January 2003, I decided it was time for me to do my own thing and form a competing company. I had said, hey, this heartless, soulless corporation that I've dedicated my life to these past 3.5 years, they're not looking out for me. They're not looking out for my colleagues. They're not looking out for my business owners. They're looking out for the executives first, because the executives look out for themselves. They look out for the board of directors, and then they look out for the shareholders. And that's really it. I learned the business of financial technology, now known as fintech, in that period of the 90s and the early 2000s, before, all these recent events where, there's the idea of enlightened business and, people waking up or woke, so to speak, about what we need to do for the underserved or what we need to do with minorities. Now, I mean, we are all about the underserved. After all, we are here as a partner of the Community Navigator Pilot Program, and we're really about that. But I'm just saying these companies, nowadays, they try to affect that. They have spokespeople that are caricatures of the people that they're supposed to be, whereas we're actually out there doing it. But back to the 90s, I learned about business in an environment where if I had a Spanish speaking business owner and they did not speak English natively, I was instructed by superiors at the aforementioned banks. I was told, hey, if they don't speak English good, then guess what? We've got a robo call attendant. They can talk to a robot, and if they can't get what they're looking for, then, they need to learn English. Too bad. They're not that important to our bottom line when it comes down to it. And I heard that enough. I'd sacrificed myself for many years, just grinding the streets, knocking door to door, building the trust of the Jewish deli and grocery owners in Brooklyn, of, visiting auto body stores, dry cleaners, nail salons in Chinatown, going to the bodegas in the Bronx and Queens, and building the trust that they knew that St. Hung would back them up if there was ever a problem. They knew that, hey, if I didn't understand what legal document or tax document was being sent to me, that Saint would stop what he was doing, either visit me after work or visit me on the weekend and help me decipher it. It was not about nationality, race, creed, anything, none of that. If my business owners needed help, they knew I would be there to help them. But outside of me, these hundreds and hundreds of business owners that contributed millions of dollars to the big banks that I served, they were not getting any help outside of this one guy because they didn't care. The banks do not care. The executives do not care. The shareholders don't care. That said, that is why I established and I built universal processing in 2003. And I said, hey, I'm going to go all in. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm 23 years old at the time. And I'm very fortunate to say that throughout this 20-year journey, we have become the most dominant Asian financial technology company in the United States. We are number one in the Chinese market, and that obviously aligns with the United States Pan Asian American Chamber of Commerce, aka USPAACC. And we are also number one in the Vietnamese market, and we're looking to continue our foothold, expand upon our foothold in the Indian markets, the Arab markets, the Muslim markets, as well as the Korean markets. So we have, sales teams in place. We've got territories in place. And also, very conveniently, USPAACC has agreed to service the regions of Northeast, centering around New Jersey, Central U.S. in Texas, Southeast U.S. in Atlanta, Georgia, as well as West Coast in California region, North and South Cali, and last but not least, Northern Midwest in Chicago. So Universal Processing also has entities in all of those places except for Atlanta, but fortunately, we are under contract for one such underserved entity that we're in the midst of acquiring. So we have coverage there. USPAACC is a very amazing organization. I just have to say that really quick. It was the founder, Susan Allen, that sought me out. I still remember, I think this was early 2020, when I was not in a great place because my headquarters was in New York. We were going through a tough time with the beginning of the pandemic and, a lot of challenges, but not many answers. I just I got nominated for a webcast, I believe, and I just spoke out for about 25 minutes. It was probably, 10 minutes too long, but I guess I made an impression, so to speak. And then one thing led to another. Mrs. Allen also nominated myself and my organization for to become a national spoke and a lead applicant for the Community Navigator Pilot Program. And we were granted that as a Tier 1 hub. USPAACC became a Tier 1 hub, and that's why we have this podcast today. Okay, so why did we start this podcast? I would say that the quickest answer is there are so many stories out there. I believe that every single business owner that has endured this recent pandemic has had their lives turned upside down, their realities turned upside down. They've had sleepless nights. They've lost hair. They've been stressing out. I mean, I know I can't even count on my hands, my fingers and toes how many times I find myself awake at 6 a.m. grinding my teeth, thinking, worrying, and just not having all the answers. And I'm not going to promise you that we have all the answers, but you know what? This might be a refuge for you if you're either running a business or thinking about running a business, where you can reference other people's stories, other people's experiences, other people overcoming these challenges and say, oh, wow, you know what? I just went through that. I see what they're talking about. Let me paint a picture because I don't want to just talk about what what I felt and the downside. My reality in March of 2020 was the following. Being in New York City, I think it was like March 9th or 10th, where the mayor, I forgot if it was Adams or de Blasio at the time. I believe it was Mayor de Blasio. I'm not sure. But he had announced that starting Monday, everything would change. Everybody would be locked down. If you were out of your house and you didn't have a pass or something like that, you couldn't leave. And even that whole weekend, just that Friday, sending everybody home, it was like a dagger into my heart. It felt like the business that I had been operating, Universal Processing, since '03 to present, had stalled out and stopped. It wasn't dead, but it would stop and it would slow down to zero. And our business is a face-to-face consultancy. The heart and soul of our business is to go out there, meet other entrepreneurs and say, hey, is there something wrong with your banking? Is there something wrong with your payment processing? Is there something wrong with your point of sale terminal, ATM services, marketing, all of that? Anything to do with your business and money, we want to help make it better. You're getting charged too much. You're pulled in on some weird contract. We'll help you fight it. You don't even need to give us your business. We'll help you fight it. That's what the heart and soul is, because we really believed in and still believe in supporting the entrepreneur. As long as we're there helping for the entrepreneur today, you know what? People, business owners, entrepreneurs especially, understand how valuable relationships are. And this pandemic, as a side note, during this pandemic, a lot of people, the non-entrepreneurs out there, have forgotten how valuable relationships are. We remember how valuable building relationships are, and we were out there helping them for 16, 17 years at that time. Again, 2020, that Monday when I've been used to 12 to 16-hour days at that office, going in and putting in the time and loving it, like my entire life changed. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm sitting at home. I don't know what to do with myself. Even the weekend, my wife's asking me what I'm doing. I got a crying kid, and, I'm not used to, I love being dad and coming back and hugging my daughter and, saying great things, but 24 hours, and it's looking like 7 days a week. That was a whole big change of pace. Long story short, that didn't last too long. I honestly just looked up what other banks were doing, and I realized that because we have a license, we are legitimate bank-sponsored ISO MSP. That's our license name. And we're helping restaurants, we're helping pharmacies, grocery stores, liquor stores operate. We are an essential business. We're essential for providing technology, for providing banking services to small businesses out there. And I was like, okay, guys, Wednesday, I was like, guys, we're an essential business. We can do this. Who's with me? Who's with me? Let's go back to work. And spoiler alert, I was at work alone for the duration of the month of March. I believe I was also at work alone for the entire month of April. Everybody else in the company, even other shareholders, other co-founders, they were like, "You're crazy. I'm working from home, and I'm afraid of leaving the house. We don't know enough about this." And I'm like, "Wait, but it can't be on the streets." Like I explained it to them. I'm like, "Guys, have you ever seen that movie I Am Legend? It's kind of like that. Like, I went down Fifth Avenue. I stood in the middle of Fifth Avenue on 42nd Street, and I did like time-lapse not time-lapse. I just held my camera phone, for 5 minutes. And in the month of any day in March, for 5 minutes, there was not one car going down Fifth Avenue. It was that crazy. Like, I mean, late March, if I saw one UPS guy or one FedEx guy that entire day, I was like, oh my God, another human being. Wow, I'm not alone. It was that insane. But I operated that business. I put the business on my back. Obviously, my colleagues, we had a team of about 110 at that time. My colleagues nationwide did work from home and they did whatever they could. But we were probably only at efficiency in the teens. Whereas if we're used to working at 100%, we were maybe only working at 17% because, again, we're face to face consultancy and there was not much face to face going on. People weren't really looking to hear phone calls. Multiple businesses, I think at the time, like 47% of our client base was small to medium sized restaurants. And I think close to 75-80% of restaurants were closed back then. So, anyways, going back to the experience, like by late April, I was like, something's got to change. 17% efficiency isn't going to work. And I decided that we make an entire pivot. About April 20th, I told my executives that I was going to do it. They told me I was crazy. I said, we need to stop worrying about quotas. We need to stop worrying about sales production. We need to stop that whole, 16-year-old business model in its tracks. What we need to do is we need to reach out to all of our existing businesses and conduct a wellness check to make sure everybody's okay. We need to, actually, and we did, source as many masks as we can. And we did that. We sourced 15,000 masks from China because all the 3M masks, all the American-made masks or even the American branded masks. I mean, guys, let's be real. Everything's made in China. So even if it's got an American brand on it, it's still made in China. So we just cut out the middleman and we got KN95 masks because I think they were like the American versions were K95 masks or something like that. We got the KN95 that medically speaking were exactly the same. 15,000 of them. I think about 13.5 thousand were given to the doctors and the clinics and dentists in the tri-state area. We went to like Claremont Hospital. There was that Elmhurst Hospital, which I think that was like the nexus of all, COVID cases and the nexus of the deaths. And Elmhurst Hospital, a founder and I went to the emergency ward and we just transported masks and masks and masks. Went to the Bronx Jacoby Medical Center. Then we went into the streets of Chinatown, where we went to the local clinics in various Chinatowns just to give 500 masks here, 1,000 masks there. We did that first. Then we had spam emails just to let everybody know if you're running an essential business, if you got a supermarket, if you've got a grocery store, a pharmacy, a restaurant that's still allowing in-person dining, because other states have different policies and we're covering all 50 states, then we will send you masks to help you and your employees stay safe. And of course, I mean, we've got doctors, clinics, dentists, those guys as well. And out of the 15,000 masks, I think we only saved about 500 just for our staff to work and operate, this essential business for when they came back in May through July before the official reopening of New York. So we did that. Back to the pivot. We pivoted. Well, I said no more sales quotas. We are not a sales company. We are a rescue company. We are here to rescue the small businesses that we support and other small businesses. We first conducted a wellness check to each of our existing clients, and we said, what can we help you with? They were like, we need money. We need to pay our rent. We need to pay our bills. We're not sure if we can even open. And we're like, we're not lawyers, but you know what? We decided that we're offering essential services. We hear that food, for example, is an essential service. Grocery stores everywhere is an essential service. We want to help you. What can we do? And we proactively, like as this was happening, I think the PPP was getting rolled out late April, early May. We studied the PPP, the EIDL. We tasked multiple sales managers to go learn and gather information from all 50 states. We put together basically a big spreadsheet with all the links to the 50 states and printouts, and we studied that, we looked through all that, and we provided that information to our business owners. We called proactively. We said we can get you ABC, and it was state specific. We had our telesales department reach out proactively, and honestly, this wasn't cheap. We were making zero sales, and we spent millions, easily over $1 million, probably between 1.5 to 2 million in payroll those months, just to go out and reach out to those businesses, help them proactively and aggressively apply for those loans, help them read. We weren't lawyers, but we said, we'll help you read it. And in plain speak, we'll help you interpret what is necessary. Get us this document, that document, that document. And we helped apply for loans, for government loans for thousands of businesses. I know that at least hundreds had responded to us and let us know. And if anything, it's kind of fortuitous because it prepared us for what currently the Community Navigator Pilot Program is doing. We kind of had our own CNPP tryouts for 6 months. And not only that, later on, we got featured in Forbes magazine, which helped us reputationally. The business owners actually even came back to us, even the ones that eventually closed for some periods of time during that open and closing of the different regions of the US. They came back to us. They came back stronger. They referred businesses to us, and just word of mouth, the ones that survived, the businesses, especially minority-owned businesses that survived in that region. There were other businesses. I heard something like 25 to 40% of small restaurants closed in certain regions. That means, people still need to eat. That means that if a quarter of the businesses close, then the remaining restaurants, because like I said, people need to eat, are probably increasing their volume, their receipts by 25 to 40%. So between that and the increase in the surviving businesses volume, plus the referred business, we as an organization easily doubled in volume and in size through COVID. So I don't know. If there's one way to summarize that, I would say it's to pay it forward, really do the right thing. We believed in doing the right thing. We didn't shut down our business. I refused to let that happen. Sure, we listened and we shut down for 48 business hours, but Wednesday morning, my yellow was in my seat. And even if nobody was with me, I was driving the ship in person from our HQ for a good 6 weeks. And then eventually everybody else was like, wait, the news is coming out. There's really not that many people. Let's, on a volunteer basis, go represent our essential business. Let's hit the phones in the office. Let's wear masks as necessary. Everybody wore masks. I wore a mask. Well, not when, there were no other people in the office, but after people came in, we all wore masks and we went out there and we proactively served our business base. And by paying it forward, our business base gave back to us. So that was a long tangent, a long story, but what we want to provide our listeners with is our values, our belief that we are here supporting businesses. Before, we voluntarily did it. Now we have the SBA, the U.S. Small Business Administration support, as well as the support of the U.S. Pan Asian American Chamber of Commerce, USPAACC, to go and do this. We and our spoke partners are out there supporting small businesses in the similar capacity, near identical capacity, except thankfully the pandemic conditions have drastically changed to be a little more, actually I would say a lot more favorable than they used to be. We know a lot more. We have a lot more funding. We have a lot more clarity. We have a lot more experience. We want to reach out to the businesses out there to say, hey, we want to help you. We have resources. We have partners. You could look us up at www.USPAACC.com, and you will find those resources. You will find Universal Processing as one of the national spokes and individual spokes regionally. They're literally being tasked and being funded via grant money by the US SBA to do this. So the government wants us to do this. They've tasked us to do this. We are recognized by them. We are approved by them. And we want to reach out and help the small business owners. Above and beyond that, USPAACC is a chamber of commerce focusing around Asian Americans, of course. However, this podcast, this content is for everybody. It doesn't matter if you are Asian, if you are Black, if you are white, if you are Latino, if you are any other Pacific Islander, any ethnicity. If you are a business owner and you need help, we are here to help you. If you are a business owner, or if you are an aspiring business owner and you want to learn some business principles, what we want to do these coming months is we want to get other business owners to come in and let you know, hey, this is what entrepreneurship is like. This is what being in the pocket and quarterbacking a business is actually like. Everybody thinks that running a business is about sitting back, lighting a cigar, with a $100 bill and counting money. But that is not what entrepreneurship is about. It is about sacrifice. It is about laying everything on the line. It is about having a belief in yourself, having a belief in your service, having belief in your team around you, and saying, hey, this is valuable. I am solving a problem. I am solving a problem better than anybody else can solve. That's why I am doing this. So hopefully we will get the other entrepreneurial warriors out there to come on this show, to feature their business, really talk about their story, let us know their challenges, and hopefully that helps you, the viewer or listener, solve that problem for yourself. Thanks for tuning in to Navigating Business. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can email us at podcast@uspaac.com. Once again, that's podcast@uspaaacc.com. This podcast is brought to you by USPAACC and the U.S. Small Business Administration via the Community Navigator Pilot Program. Produced by K-Vibe Studios. Follow us and rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Give us a high rating for the algorithm. Stay tuned and see you for the next episode.